Alright, that took a bit. That took a bit, but we're here. This is the wrong document. Oh, this is my draw this in your style. This is not what we're supposed to be looking at today. Sips coffee. This has nothing to do with what we're supposed to be doing today. I will let it be up though, as I find some reference images. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope everybody had a nice weekend. I definitely did. I will admit it feels like Monday today. Feels a lot like Monday. Okay, and then I just want to draw hands today. It's been a while since I've just drawn hands. There's some hand reference, there's some hand reference. One more, one more. There we go, something like that. Cool, we're not gonna run out now. I have hands. Haven't prepped any artists to study from today, so it'll mainly just be, I think, photos of hands that we'll be drawing. What? Give me a second. I'm just getting them from these hand reference images, moving them from Pinterest to my reference board. Then we'll get going. Cool, there we go. And we'll switch to a slightly less interesting document. But on the plus side, we will be drawing. Sick. You remember the Mets 100 hands, no, 500 hands challenge? That was fun. Ahmed Aldori has always been good at giving you reasons to draw. Mets 50 heads, Mets 100 heads, Mets 500 hands, Mets map. He's actually, looking back, been like a big motivator for me to draw more. in my reference, I'm seeing a grouping of these 3 knuckles and fingers, and then sort of like a significant step down. So the little finger, I used to like not be the biggest hand drawing enthusiast, but then I think a lot of artists, me included, go through that phase where it's just like, well, I'm bad at drawing hands, let me just draw a million of them in my sketchbook. And then it quite easily, you know, becomes like a comfort zone-y area. I think that's how I feel about it at the very least. Like if I have a comfort zone, it's like hands, figures. But it's still an area where I'd like to be so much better than I am. Okay, hand 1, whatever. Now the idea is to spin it around a little bit. Oh, let's number them. Let's do the thing. Typically the middle finger knuckle will rise above the rest of the knuckles when you're drawing a hand. Ayo, Ayo, how's it going? Did you have a good weekend? You're fine. You're fine. Nice, nice. That's too much of a step. Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Warming up. Yeah. Yes. But also I think we'll be doing some more drawing hands, some more drawing faces over the next week or the next couple weeks. As I would like to improve those areas. What I'm not really doing enough of right now is like really simplifying the hands that I'm drawing. I think they could be quite a lot stronger if I simplified my shapes, my strokes more. You're studying a bit of landscape and background stuff. Okay. What compelled you? Mr. Eldritch Horror. Group of studying with friends. Nice, nice. Lovely to have that. A new theme every 2 weeks. Okay. Feels like a decent amount of time to study like one thing. How tight are your themes then? You said landscape, background. How specific do you get with it? Not much. Okay. I mean, as long as you try to study something very specific on the day, it's probably fine. Right now you're doing some values and composition studies. Yeah, cool, cool. Trying to understand some decisions people do. Yes. That's all of us all the time. And number 3. And practice. Yeah. Sounds good, sounds good. Kind of messed this one up. It was supposed to be even more sort of foreshortened. Something like that. Thank you for the follow. Guys, it's Ferk. Ferk-alicious much? You know something cool to share about backgrounds? Probably. I mean, backgrounds aren't my forte. Do you know? Oh, he got more formal with it. I would just recommend to try and be as specific in your studies as possible. And you're probably doing it right already. But say you're doing like value studies, it's probably something about like watching like a quick tutorial on finding someone who has an opinion, someone who knows, someone knowledgeable who has an opinion about how to structure values in landscapes, and then maybe studying some of their pieces, looking for that structure they're explaining. Because I think just one of the dangers with studying art is if we don't know what we're looking for when we're doing our studies, we won't necessarily get very much out of them, right? So it's just really try to look for something specific. Try to gain some knowledge in the field. Yeah. Gain some knowledge in the field, and especially when starting out, that could just be like finding a whatever tutorial, and then look for that as you do your studies. For example, that could be the classic, foreground dark, midground mid-tone, background light. And then this is the super duper simple value composition that often is taught to students as like, this is the way to paint a landscape, always do this value composition. But it is valid and it gets used often. So then knowing that, you could look for this in say like 10 different paintings and see how often it actually holds. How often do the painters that you like actually do their values like this? And how often do they differ from it? And then say, look for that and try to observe why they make those choices. You have a good channel about it? Nice. Just stick close to that then. Jordan Grimmer. He's good. Definitely. And then try to keep that structure of like watching a video, getting some information, and then spending like, I don't know, 20 times the length or 20 times the amount of time spent getting information, spent that time like hammering the information in, just applying, just doing studies. Yeah, I know of him. I've watched a couple of those videos. I think he's pretty good, pretty easy to follow as well. So that was more what I was supposed to draw for this hand, number 3. I'm the first person you met that also knows him. Okay, yeah. I think he's like doing pretty well for himself. But that's fair. It's also just like you're around studying art for long enough. You'll learn a lot of the names, right? Okay. Oh, people don't speak much English in Brazil. So the people you know will mainly just know, I guess, Mike Acevedo then? No, and Ryle Lira too, right? This is actually, no, that's bullshit. Don't listen to me. There's so many really good Brazilian digital artists and artists. So my question was more, yeah, both. Both those guys and nobody else. No. But they mainly just know Brazilian artists? That's pretty wild. Such a world to explore. There's two guys really famous here for most people, yeah. And that would be those guys. Fair enough. Okay, so let me think. I want this plane, and then maybe I can just like let the little finger peek. I don't know. It's actually in my reference. It is being blocked. You're talking about different people. Oh, who'd that be? Guillaume Freitas from Brush Rush. Okay. Oh, this is a good reminder to turn off my system sounds. And you forget the other name. Oh! System sounds. Okay. Gotta take a little break and look up these guys now. Okay, so Kaitash, he's like very, yeah, he's like very Hearthstone build. I see. Marco Alvarez. Let's look at him. And apologies for butchering the pronunciation, of course. Most beginners watch the two of them. It's like Brazilian Proco. Fun. Marco Alvarez? This can't be the guy. He's not popping up for me. With the with the spelling that you supplied. Grab me the link. Oh, thanks. That'd be sick. Okay. YouTube, bro. Oh, it is that guy, huh? He's Marco is the one to introduce people to Marketplace. Don't look at these guys. Look at Azevedo or something, man. Why? I mean, it always sounds mean when I do this, but they're just not near his level. Like Acevedo is just way better. I don't know, I guess it's kind of like when you're a beginner, it doesn't matter as much. But you know, I'd rather look at the top artists, learn from the top artists than from the middle ones, right? Well, and by that logic, you should get the fuck out of this stream immediately. their content's focused on teaching people. So for beginners, they're like superheroes. Yeah. No, I think there's something to it. I think you can learn a lot from somebody who's intermediate if you're just a beginner, right? Because somebody who's intermediate, like say me, will have a lot of knowledge about how to gain the knowledge, even if they haven't fully mastered it themselves yet. I trust the concept. I think I can bring you value. Even if I'm not an Azevedo. Your time has come. Goodbye. See you around. See you around. I don't know about that one. We'll do better next hand. God damn it. At the same time, I do think there's something about like the better you get in a field, the more you need to look at the top of the field, right? To improve. Oh, hello. Darmadon. Darmadon. Thanks for following. How you doing? Hey, boss. Hey, chief. How are we today? We're good. We're good. Starting a new chapter of studying, I think. I'd like to draw some more hands. Not that I haven't been here before, but we were doing drapery for a little while. I want to get back into like hands and faces. What program is this? This is Clip Studio. Clip Studio is great because you can, and they're kind of pivoting into a subscription model, but you can buy a perpetual license, which Photoshop does not let you do that. It has most of the same functionalities, and then in some aspects it's way better. Like say if you want to animate, you got the sneaky cheap Photoshop. Okay, I won't tell. Won't tell anybody. So this is like a weird angle for the hand. It's also because this person's hand is so bent back, it's like not at this point it's not a straight fist, and I do think that's deforming the hand a little bit more. But that is interesting. And you can get the sneaky cheap Photoshop, that works too. But Clip's nice. Clip's good for, I have reference on the side, yes. Typically do that for warm-ups. Have some sort of reference. I'm just looking at, oh, give me a second. I have to find it again. I'm just looking at one of these, you know. And then just drawing the hand as it spins around here. I like stuff like that. I talk a lot about trying to make your studies as specific as possible, and like that applies to over the course of several drawings as well. If you can study like the same thing over the course of several drawings, that's really good. So an image like this where you have the same hand but really just like spun around at a lot of different angles, you get to study that same specific thing, the fist, for maybe like 10 drawings, right? Looks methodical. Yeah, that's the point. That's exactly the point. Be methodical, be intentional, be specific, and then what you learn will be more specific. It'll be more detailed, the knowledge that you gain. That's the idea. I think it's better to study drawing fists for an hour and a half than just drawing hands for maybe even like 2. You'll just be able to connect more related dots over the same amount of time, I think. That's the idea. So this one doesn't work. I think I'd have to stylize it more. Let's try that. Yeah, simplify more. That's usually the name of the game in drawing, right? If you want to draw more appealingly. Gotta simplify. What do I normally draw? So for the morning studies, it is a lot of stuff like this. It's a lot of like, where are you at? Figures. It needs to say figures. There you go. Oh, studying drapery for a little while, or studying more drapery. More drapery, drawing some figures, drawing some figures, drawing some figures, drawing some figures, drawing some figures. This is a lot of what the morning sessions are usually like, and then the evening sessions are kind of like a different genre. I'll do some design work or some illustration work. This is a recent project we did in the evening sessions. A Unara fan skin. Let me see. Front page, turn around. Chromas. Looks awesome, nice, thank you. I am bringing out some flashy stuff. And then this evening, we're doing this. This is I have like a draw this in your style running. So this evening, I'm doing my own draw this in your style. This guy here, right? Yeah. That's kind of what we do here. My own contest? Yeah, so I don't have a lot of participants, so I'm raising awareness. Top 5 participants get like a commission from me that I'll do on stream. Nah, respect. So I'm reminding people that there's a thing going on. now we're doing a better job. We're simplifying. We're designing. This thumb still feels a bit whack. I don't know. Little fingers annoying me. This is more of like a Max Gregg hand, if you know that artist. You were into drawing as a kid, but then you got a bad mark in art class and it upset you? Damn. You were more interested in science back then. I see. So I was actually more interested in science. And the wild thing is, for me, what put me off science was my grades were too good. What the fuck are you talking about, Jacob? Well, you see, I felt a lot of pressure on like performing well as a kid, and you just lost passion for it eventually. Yeah, no, that's so fair. I felt a lot of pressure performing as a kid, and then the things where I was getting good grades, that would be the disciplines or the subjects where my own expectations and my assumed outside expectations were the highest. And so that's where I'd feel the most pressure and the most discomfort. And like nobody expected me to do or be good at art. And I just kind of picked that. Okay, whatever, man. Didn't nail that one hand. I don't know. Okay, we'll try one last time. We'll try one last time. More of a taper, more of an angle. I believe in this simplification. Life leads you weird places. Yeah, and for strange reasons. A lot of my friends who are in art specifically because they're good at it. And well, if you want to compare, I'm closer to being in art specifically because I was bad at it. I don't want to say present tense, but you know, specifically because there was less pressure on it. It felt like it was more my choice. It wasn't what I was expected to do, right? Felt like a way to choose for myself and a way to reset expectations, I think, at the same time. And then I really enjoyed it. I really liked it, right? It's not just those two things. Nah, it's like since a kid. Since a kid, I drew. And then I think 15 years old, which is soon to be 9 years ago, I think I was like, okay, let me try and work with this professionally. Let me try to make this my profession. And then people always ask like, oh, but from when did you take art seriously? And I guess that would be then. But there's like a big difference from the effort that I put in back then, or the hours that I was able to put in, maybe more than the effort, to the hours I'm able to put in now, right? Or since 21, I think I've been like locked in. So that's like 3 years, soon to be 3 years. Since 15, I was trying. I don't know, man. Struggling with this hand, it's tricky. Since around 21, you've been locked in on music. 28 now. How's that going? You getting any gigs? You getting any good? That's so annoying that hand is so hard to draw. Such a weird perspective as well. I think my grouping is off. I feel like you achieved everything you wanted, except not many people listened, but it is what it is. Okay. Okay. So what now? What do you do? What are you going to do? You said not many people listened. That's a past tense. You done? Would like music as a career? At some point, you move on to the next one. Talking hands. Still going, but dabbling in more stuff now. Always make music, but you can only do it for so long before doing other stuff. It's actually better for the music. Yeah, I mean, there's something, we have that in art too, that, you know, whatever you produce is definitely like influenced by your life experience, right? Maybe that's a bit of what you're referring to. Be right back. Oh no, a decision threshold. You could keep rambling within the same conversation, but just do like nonsensical, not super important rambling that's not asking questions to the chatter. Or you could switch topic, wait till the chatter is back, then return to the topic. This one's also whack. Man, can we not draw today? I was convinced this one was going to be better. definitely okay. He's back. We can continue. No, there's definitely like that thing in drawing where like, older artists will tell you to experience and enjoy life too. No worries. Hey, no worries. To like have something to draw about. And then obviously it's like, well, if the art career doesn't take off, you have to pivot. I'm certainly like a bit more of a shut-in than a lot of people, I think. So it's gonna be interesting to see if my art is just gonna be like super stale forever for that reason. Mainly effects like lyrics can be so hard to keep coming up with stuff. You need to draw on experience. Yes, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. That's why older artists will tell you to experience and enjoy life too. Is so you'll have something that you care about, that you want to draw. You'll have subjects that you care about enough to actually want to draw them. You'll have something to say with your art. And that something is more likely to be meaningful. You're trying to capture beauty, meaning, expression, ideas. All this stuff that's part of life. Yeah. You certainly can be too insulated. This is not what you're saying, but what I hear sometimes when I hear this, oh, you gotta experience life advice, though, is it's often like bound up on like, oh, you gotta go travel. You gotta go outside your home place. You gotta move. You gotta dare. I think the biggest thing for me is just like, oh, be curious about life and what there is to experience and other people. Insulated in what sense? Yeah, that is what I'm saying. If you become too much of a shut-in, because our craft requires us to spend a lot of time, a lot of hours studying it if you want to be any good. Hard to say there's one approach. Yeah. All sorts of ways to do it. You can cut yourself off in the world, grind one specific unique thing, weird thing, and be the most unique artist in the world. Yeah. I think that's why I've often like hand waved that piece of advice myself. But I do think there's like a point to you have to foster some sort of like curiosity. Some sort of curiosity. And then you can just be curious about stuff that you can learn from your home. But you know, like a famous drawing exercise that everybody needs to do a million of when they're starting out is just draw boxes. And it's a good drawing exercise that makes you, over time, a good technical artist, good at drawing perspective. But if you just draw boxes forever, like literally just boxes forever, if you literally just draw boxes forever, you will not be a good artist. You have to care about something. Who's that outsider artist? What's that called? Isometric, 30 degrees and 60 degrees? Yeah, this sort of perspective, right, is isometric perspective. Not doing a good job of doing like exact angles. I'm not exactly sure about the outsider artist you're talking about. You know, I don't. Outsider art? Self-taught individuals who are untrained and untutored in traditional arts. Typically little or no contact with the conventions of the art worlds. Okay. Yeah. Very interesting. It definitely doesn't work for what most artists these days are trying to accomplish. Because like most up-and-coming artists are interested in like entertainment art and entertainment design. God damn it, that little finger. By definition, yeah, of course. They're outside the mainstream. You're so right. But that feels like a terrible strat to go for being an outsider artist. Because you're just like hoping against hope that whatever ways that you differ from the mainstream, that the mainstream will then like. All your friends from uni have studied design, all have the same minimal corporate style. Okay. But hey, if it gets them jobs, right? Have I noticed that so much minimal design is boring? Yes. Give me a second. If we're talking like graphic design, I think that's part of the point, no? is that it's like invisible. That it's you don't notice it. You just feel like a clean experience without distractions. I think there's a place for minimalism when the minimal statements that you have are like interesting. Get that it's a skill to manipulate readability, attention, things like that. But you don't find it interesting? Right. I mean, because what are other examples? That's things like Bauhaus movement, brutalism. That's very minimal, but the statements made are so different from what you would have come to expect from architecture. That becomes a little interesting, no? Rick Rubin and Kanye like that in mainstream music? Okay. One instrument and his voice. Yeah. Yeah. You find that boring also? What's some music you really vibe with? I should have asked this question so much earlier. I have somebody in my chat who cares about music. What kind of music do you care about? Favorite genres like jazz fusion? Soul music? Hit me up with some recommendations. Give me some jazz fusion greatest hits. You want? Yes, I want your jazz playlist. Maybe like a couple albums. You listen to albums ever, or are you more like a playlist person? Feels like we're warming up now. Both. All right, what we got here? Tribe's on here. And a single Miles Davis song. Number. Composition. Kendrick. That's about the amount of names that I know. That's great. Domi and JD Beck. Another Miles Davis. Some jazz rap, yeah. Yeah. It's mostly jazz fusion. Cool, and then I gotta ask you for a couple banger jazz fusion albums as well. This is a great moment. Oh, this is a great moment. Look at this. So we have this group of these three knuckles, closely grouped, but with this sort of rhythm to them, and then we have the step down into the little finger knuckle, which is like pulled forward, and the step down. Look at that. Look at how dynamic that looks. Yay. Inner mounting flame is goated. Okay. Flying Lotus, you're dead. Maybe it's a jazz fusion kind of day. The Call Within. Thank you, thank you. I'll try to give some of them a listen. Ralph Towner, Solstice. Always trying to expand my music horizons a little bit. A little bit, like a comfortable pace. So much to explore, for real. For real. Oh, we can do the same thing here. We can do the same thing here. Step down into the pinky. Only getting crazier in terms of how much music there's out there. There's too much stuff. You can never experience all this stuff. There's too much of it. I've heard talk of this mythical monoculture where everybody knew, listened to, saw the same things, and there were only enough things that you could kind of like follow along if you tried. It's impossible these days. 100,000 songs added to Spotify every day. That's what I'm saying. That's crazy. I didn't know that stat. My voice sounds like Northern Lion. I do know him. He might be my favorite streamer. My voice sounds like him. Just like my creative voice in terms of what I say. Maybe just to your un-American ears. That's fair. That's fair. No, I do I do enjoy Northern Lion a lot, and I think in terms of like how I'm like designing my stream as like a product, as like a piece of entertainment, I am drawing a lot of inspiration from him. He's a funny guy. He's a funny guy saying funny stuff. Good, astute observations. Good vibes. Maybe I picked up his cadence. Oh, might be. I don't think that's too bad. I think there's an unexplored niche
for an art Northern Lion. Like games and trivia has one already. I don't think the market's rife for that. I think there's a little space. There's a little space here. You have like art YouTube, and you have like gaming, entertainment, banter YouTube, or streaming, and then like right here, maybe that's where I do my work. We'll see. A lot of people on Twitch, but still crazy hard to grow. Yeah, we're taking it day by day. Taking it day by day. Putting in the hours. My roommate tells me that I've picked a really difficult medium, but I think it's the right one for me. I just think it fits my temperament. It fits what I can probably do well. I can come on here, I can teach people a little bit of art. Can make it work for sure. For sure. I like the optimism. Like I think my first viewer, one of the first things, and they didn't stick around. One of the first things they said is like, maybe, you know, 5 to 10 years ago you'd have a shot. Today, good luck. Okay. Cool. Thanks. And watch one guy, since he had one viewer, now he gets 10 and the community is tight enough, he gets decent money from it. Whoa. He gets decent money from 10 viewers? That's wild. Well, I guess, we might have different expectations for what decent money is. People gift him hella subs. Sick. We'll see. No, I think I have a shot. I'm not discouraged by that one guy. With his good luck. You just take it day by day, we show up. We see progress. As with like anything. One guy, the trolls. Yeah, that one original viewer, like one of the first viewers I had, and he was like, yeah, you could have made it like 5 years ago. The market's too saturated now, so good luck. I don't think he was like earnestly trolling. I think he was trying to help. I think he was trying to go like, yeah, maybe find something else to do. like kindly directing me towards something that he thought would be like a better idea, specifically quitting. There's another hand. Hand number 12. We're almost through with all the fists in this reference. even if you can't quit your day job, it can still grow into something really dope. Well, luckily, my day job, my day internship, which hopefully probably will, we'll see, turn into my day job, is also art. So they kind of go together quite well. Yeah, we'll see. Still, it is still just an internship at moment of recording, at time of recording. But I think, I mean, and the industry is a little bit tricky at the moment. My analysis, and we'll see if I'm a doofus, is that I'm about at the level where I think there's a good shot I'll be able to get work relatively consistently. But we'll see. Industry's tough. It is very competitive. Want to see your designs? You started Photoshop like 3 months ago. Hit me. Do you want feedback or do you just want, awesome, so cool? Because I can do either. Feedback, you don't care. It's just a hobby. Okay. Music, your main thing. Well, hit me. I'm interested to see. Dom rocks. Oh, okay. Your designs. I see what you're saying. Rock's your last name? That's so sick. Yeah, this is definitely outside of my field of expertise. Like graphic design. Very cool, very fun. I do like, however, and I do try to incorporate in my art some of the same stuff where it's just like, yeah, crazy Photoshop, messing around, distortion, colors, glitch effects, color burns. I mean, they're cool visuals. Feels more painterly. Yeah, and like, that's true. That's one thing. Really like this one. It's a cool effect. And which other one? This one. This one went hard. This one goes crazy, actually. This one's also really good. From like an illustration, color composition standpoint. It's really interesting. Yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff. Didn't think much of that one. I don't know, you just had a really nice use of like hue contrast in your focal point, saturation contrast in your focal point, and hue and saturation contrast between your foreground and your background. A lot of interesting texture work, but just like it was very successful in directing the eye to the focal point and having that focal point be interesting. Like if you had done like a really sick, like high key, low contrast drawing or painting over the top of that statue, I would have gone crazy hard, like as an illustration. It already does, but like I'm saying, like in my field. Like visual hierarchy, yeah, and just like well, maybe you do think plenty about this. I think it was evident in a lot of them, but like strategic contrast, yeah, in your focal points. There we go. Yeah, so I mean, I think you're doing it like pretty well in a lot of these. But maybe something like, and it might be intentional, hey, I don't know. An image like this one, to me is quite unclear in where the main emphasis is supposed to be. Obviously you've got text. Text is an important focal point in this one. And it's maybe the spot in this one that's the most clearly interesting, right? I do read this as a face and as a figure, but quite secondarily because the contrast is so low, and the shapes are so abstract as well, or so undefined. Like the read of this as a face takes a little bit of time. Then there's a lot of contrast here. So I look, like when I look at this image first, I go here and then I'm like, what is that? I can't tell. Huh? And then maybe I start to like look around and explore and find out that, oh, that's a face. And I haven't even read the text yet, but, but at some point I might. I just know that there's text here. And then it seems like there's also like an overall shape that I don't know if that's important. So it's kind of like, well, if you want this to be really important, like manage your contrast so that is like the most contrasty spot, right? This is some of the first stuff I would be thinking about. As I'm like laying in my shapes, you know, us artists, and value contrast is one of the most important ones. Us artists, we will often start by doing like our value compositions and being like, okay, then I put my bright next to my dark over here, and then, well, maybe I radiate out and I lower the values or whatever, and then, well, maybe it's like a light clashes against dark, but the dark is winning. That's the type of composition it is. Essentially, if I was doing like a super heavy color piece, I might start by doing like a color thumbnail, but as quickly as possible, you want to think about what are your contrast tools, and in this case, it's like mostly value, right? And then how can you make sure that you use those specifically in your focal point? So I would probably lower, yes, the value contrast in that area down there, because I'm assuming you want us to look at and realize there's a face, and that's interesting. But it also depends on like your priorities in the piece. It's like, oh, needs a bit of cleaning up. Yeah, and now I just picked one. I just picked out one that I felt like needed some contrast management. I don't even think I did the best job of it in my little demo there. Also because I don't know exactly what the piece was trying to say, because my critique of it was that it was a little unclear. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I would recommend stopping at the beginning and thinking about like contrast tools and where you're using them and why. Values one, colors one. The reason I really like this one, right? Give me a second. The reason I really like this one is because it feels like you thought about all of this almost immediately. Because this is like, it's so clearly your subject has completely different hues from your background. It has values, light, dark, that stands out from your background completely. And so those are two important like contrast tools you're using to separate the background from the subject, the values and the hues. And then you have this really smart saturation contrast and hue contrast right around your focal point, right? Where you're like, oh, this is quite desaturated. This is hella saturated. Like the purples and reds and greens you have right around this focal point are so saturated. So even if they had just been like one hue, damn, you want to look there now. That's a point of interest. And then as well, letting them be wildly different hues from what you have in the subject makes it even more interesting to look there right now. So it feels like, this image feels like, I don't know if you did it or not, but it feels like you almost had a plan for what are like the parameters you're dialing up or down for contrast, and then you use the most of them in the focal point and fewer of them to distinguish subject from background. Hope any of that made sense. Didn't I get that that it's like a first person POV? No, give me a second. And maybe it's just because I can't read what's going on. This one is a first person POV? You can see his mustache and nose. I can see it now. That's tough to do. So there's a mustache here. It's because this is blending so much with all the, and I'll call it noise. Sorry if that sounds harsh, but this is like blending together so much that what I see is as a shape is like this. This is a shape to me of like noise. But then part of that shape is supposed to be the mustache, right? No, I didn't get that. Was hard. You wanted that specific image, but it was so low res you had to noise it. I see. I see. And then this is supposed to be like the inside of the eye socket. So I don't know where you got the image from, but I imagine that maybe there was like a significant color distinction, or that you've somehow, I might be wrong. Maybe it's just like an unclear image. But if it did read and it doesn't now, I could imagine that you've inadvertently removed some of the contrast that made it read. Yeah, tricky. That's also like a difficult thing to illustrate. It's like a first-person POV. Sorry that I didn't have like immediately a good solve for that. I hope any of that rambling was useful. It did feel like mostly rambling. But if you haven't been thinking of it like this, I think you could get some gains, see some gains just from thinking about where's your focal point and how do you differentiate that from the rest of the image. Very helpful, thank you. Super happy to help. Even though you didn't really ask for critique and you said you don't care and it's just a hobby, and then I immediately started critiquing you because I couldn't help myself. Okay, let me get back into a couple hands. Half the fun is seeing how good you can get, right? Right. Definitely. You don't care, you know, look like shit to a pro. I mean, probably, heck if I know. I just looked at it as an illustration for a little bit. I really like a lot of how you're distorting, deforming, processing the images that you use. And I don't know if it's just like messing around with layer modes and seeing if something looks cool. Either way, so far it's working. Yeah, just messing around and watching tutorials. And watching tutorials, that's good, that's good. It's fun. There's like a genre of entertainment artist that cares about graphic design. I'm not really that. But I do like their work sometimes. It looks cool, it looks interesting. Happy to just stay in your niche and main that, you know, yeah, like a one-trick pony. Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. I'm like a couple tricks pony, I think. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe I'm a one-trick pony, and you just like make the trick wide enough. You just say like character art. That's what he does. I'm very big on like doing the things that I care about, and that's drawing characters, drawing and designing, illustrating characters. Music, you got some more tricks. Visual, you're happy to be a one-trick pony. Yeah. I mean, it's a good way to get into learning like a very, very wide field. Even if you were to, down the line, want to be a several tricks pony starting as a one-trick pony, I don't think it's bad. Okay. It's been a lot of like mindless sketching today. Big thing was I really enjoyed lowering the pinky compared to the rest of the hand. That was fun. That was a fun observation, a fun moment. Get good at one until you're really good, then branch out. Yeah. Common video game advice, huh? It's pretty common art advice too. I'm a little mad at those couple of hands I never quite got right. Foreshortening. The first couple fingers take up way more space than the last two. When we're viewing the hand at more of an angle. Just revisiting some of those hands that didn't go very well, but I've rotated the reference now. And it's just about being simple with it. I think there's this muscle here between the metacarpal of the thumb and your pointer finger, called the first dorsal interosseous. And when you squeeze your hand into a tight fist, it tends to like bulge out a bit. And I think I could do a better job of like using that in my hand drawings. Step down for the pinky. That looks better to me. That looks better than 8. Better, clearer gesture.
for the fingers. Curving around like that rather than just like this simple static taper. I like, as we discussed, the bulge of the interosseous muscle here. Way better than whatever unclear stylization I've got going on here. Okay. So maybe that's a note, is when fist towards camera. Dorsal interosseous. I like putting down little notes for myself. What did I learn? What did I learn from the studies today? And then this step down for the pinky, I think, is like an easy way to improve a lot of drawings of fists. And what's interesting as well is it can happen in like both dimensions. So let's make a little bit of space for like a diagram of that. Say this is like the front of the hand. Pinky can step down. This stair stepping, right? And then a bigger step for the pinky. But it also happens if you look at the top of the hand. It's also a common grouping that I see in fists to group the first three, well, the middle three fingers is one group, thumb is a group by itself, and then pinky is a group by itself. Give me a second. I saw your question. I will answer it. What would be the equivalent of studies for your genre? Well, my guess that I feel decently confident in would be studies. I would find, if I were you, I would find images like the ones you create that you enjoy. And there must be some sources of inspiration already. I don't think you whipped this out of nowhere. I think there are some artists that do similar things that you already enjoy. Look at their images and break them down figure out why you like them. And break them down like as simply as you can, right? So just because we've been talking about it and because I have it, here's that image again, right? And if I were you, I would find images like these, but that are like goated ass crazy good artists that you really like. And then I'd go like, okay, what's the statement here? The statement is there's a little bit of like, there's a silhouette here that has some specific cues that it's utilizing. Cool. And then there's a background that has way more saturation